ASMR.
Hey everybody, I'm gonna try and just talk in a low voice, I guess. It's been a few days. I don't think I've even watched or commented on a video, but I could be wrong. My cats might make an appearance in this video, or you might hear them. So the 20th was my husband's birthday. And the next day, which would have been yesterday, my son was set to start his sophomore year. And I was starting to not feel good. In the middle of the night on the 20th, probably around like 10:30 or something. And my son went to bed, and he woke me up around 1:30. Because he'd noticed that his phone was not charging when he went to go to the bathroom. And he wanted to borrow my charger cord because his didn't seem to be working. Now you might be thinking, oh my God, kid, go back to bed. But for me, when it comes to going to high school these days, it's important to me that he has a charged phone on him. You know, they don't have to be like playing on it or anything, but I want him to be able to get in contact with me fast if there's an emergency or something has happened that's made him uncomfortable. Or just basically he needs to get in contact with me, stuff like that. Now, when I was in high school, obviously, you know, I graduated in 1999. And cell phones weren't even really like a thing yet. I mean, some people still had beepers. And someone might have like maybe one of the Nokia phones, but that was really rare. So, you know, we survived all of school without needing something like that. And just trusted that, or our parents trusted that, you know, we'd use a payphone or just go to the office and beg to use the phone or something. Now, I don't know really, technically, that we live in a more dangerous time now. I think it's more that the media shows us how things have always been, and we're just more aware now, and we're more paranoid. I mean, bad things do happen a lot, but it's in our face 24/7. And the funny thing is that I'm not usually like a helicopter parent. You know, I've always, been open-minded. We've always had open discussions with him. We haven't censored a lot of things. But I just feel comfortable knowing that his phone is charged. And, I don't track his every move. I mean, he only really goes to school anyway, but I like that on my phone I can see that he arrived to school safe and he's there learning. And if there's an emergency, he will let me know. If he misses the bus, he'll let me know immediately. And that's the other thing. I've noticed, and now my son has been to a lot of different schools because my husband used to be in the military. So he's been to, other than high school, he's been to, he's been to 3 other schools, pre-K through junior high. And at every single one of these schools, including high school, the communication between the office and parents kind of sucks. And we've been really lucky. These have been really good schools, but the communication tends to suck. You tend to find out about things very last minute. So I'd kind of rather rely on my kid to tell me, to be honest. Anyway, so I let him use my charger. He went back to bed. I went to plug his charger into my phone, immediately realized why it wasn't working. The wires had snapped. And I was going to go back to bed, but I laid there and got to obsessing about it and thinking, oh my god, my phone needs to be fully charged, because what's the point of his being fully charged in case he needs to contact me if he can't because my phone's dead? And at the time we were only running on two lightning cords, so, and my husband has a more updated iPhone, and his charger is just the one that you place the phone on top of, so it doesn't work for ours. Boa. Ooh, that would be my cat, Boba. Boba. Come on, Boba. Yeah. So instead of going to bed, I ended up staying up even later, going through drawers trying to find a charger cord. The phone fell. Anyway, so I did find a cord, and by this time it was like almost 2:30, and I started to get a massive migraine. And I always get a little nervous before school starts. That's just how I am as a parent. If I think that my kid is going to struggle emotionally or be nervous, like I'm like a wreck and I have trouble functioning myself. It's horrible. But he seemed fine. And then when it came to getting up the next day, he got up perfectly fine. Wasn't nervous at all. You know, had all his stuff packed. Wouldn't let me take his picture. The most I got was him like putting his hand in front of his face. Kind of expected that. And off he went out the door. And the events that happened next solidify the fact that sometimes as a parent you can be really freaking irrational. So the bus stop is down the street and around the corner. Now he's 15 years old. There's, no worry about him going to the bus stop and actually getting on the bus. But again, that's a train if you hear that. Again, I like to watch on my phone to say that he's gotten on the bus and he's made it to school. It's just how I am. So, the bus is supposed to come around 7:45. Here comes the train. Really? Really? And I noticed at 7:55 it showed he was still over here at the house, which I knew wasn't true, obviously. But I know that sometimes the location takes a bit to catch up. But then 10 minutes later, it still showed him here. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just gonna take a while. An hour later, it still showed him here. So then I remembered that over the summer a few times when we would drive like 20 minutes away, we noticed that his data wasn't really working too well. But then it would fix itself. So I figured that must be it. So I tried a couple more times throughout the day. Couldn't track him. I tried to send him a text at one point. It didn't go through. I was like, alright, you know what? He's 15. It's gonna be fine. I was thinking he's probably gonna be bored at lunch, because that's when he usually takes out his phone and watches YouTube while he eats, because they only get like half an hour. But I figured whatever, he'll just have to suck it up. Then I got to thinking, worried a little bit, like, it's the first day. What if he misses the bus? He's 15. He's well aware he could go into the office and have them call me. But sometimes the people in the office, like, skirt out really fast after school, so there's no one to talk to. And that's what I mean about communication. Because last year, during one of the half days, they had changed my son's bus number when we moved. And it was like his second half day with a new bus. And he went to where it was supposed to be and it wasn't there. So he ran down trying to look in the line of buses for it. It had already left. Like, it didn't even wait like 2 seconds for anybody. It like left. And he went into the office and there was no one there to talk to. But he was able to text me about it. And his dad ended up being able to pick him up, but he had to wait around for quite a while. So that worried me a little bit, because I was thinking, geez, if he can't get a hold of me and no one's in the office, how am I going to know? But I was like, you know what, that's irrational. What are the odds of his data not working and him missing the bus? Well, 4:20 rolls around, and that's when my son would normally get off the bus. Now, I figured, especially it being the first day, I might be like 10-15 minutes late or something. So I didn't freak out when it got to be like 4:30 or 4:35. Then my husband got home, and it got to be like 4:45, and I started to panic a little bit. And my husband's like, well, if he doesn't show up in the next 10 minutes and we don't hear from him, I'll drive up to the school and look for him. So we waited a bit. It got to be almost 5 o'clock, and he still hadn't shown up yet. And the bus is supposed to be there at 4:20. So, I was panicking a little bit. I was thinking, really, what are the odds that he missed the bus? And then I'm like, God, if he did, why didn't he run into the office real quick before anybody left, maybe? Like, what the heck? So at like 5:05, I tried to call him, and like it went to a message which indicated that his phone wasn't even working at all. So my husband goes up to the school, and he gets out and he walks around the campus looking for him. It was probably like 15 minutes later he calls me, and this was like, oh God, what time was this? This was probably like almost 5:20, so like an hour after he was supposed to get home. Saying he's not here. I've looked all around, he's not here. And that irrational mom part of me, the pessimistic side that's always like, why do these things that I worry about actually happen? And my massive migraine that I had caused me to snap. And I started howling like, what do you mean you can't find him? He's not here. You know, like I was crying. I'm like, did you check inside? And he's like, not yet. And I'm like, go check inside. So he hangs up with me. Then he texts me and asks what my son's bus number is. So I text it back to him. 5 minutes later, he texted me back and said there actually was somebody in the office. And they said, oh, the buses are just running really, really, really late. So the buses were running, like some of them over an hour late. They just hadn't bothered to tell anyone. And my son was on the bus but couldn't tell me because his phone wasn't working. So I was just done with the day after that. Like, I recognized that I was being irrational, but these thoughts just run through your head. Like, you know that your kid is fully capable of trying their best to let you know if something's wrong. But that one part of you that's like, oh, I don't know if you just heard my stomach, it's growling, I am hungry. That part of you that's like, I watch too much ID channel. You know, school shootings, kidnappings, murders, like, just, I don't know. I felt ridiculous and exhausted emotionally afterwards and still had the migraine because my son had a perfectly fine day at school. No problems whatsoever. The only problems were in my head. So I'm gonna upgrade his phone so that his data actually works. But until then, he's using an older phone as like a Wi-Fi hotspot if he needs to get a hold of me, so whatever. I doubt any of you got this far because this was boring as heck and I sound nuts, but I'll be back with more. Narwhali's back at school. I'm a little calmer. I'll be back with hopefully better quality videos than